6 months after horror struck on Maui, when the worst natural disaster in the state's history, a deadly wildfire killed 100 people, leaving nearly 5,000 still homeless. On Monday, the Maui Police Department released the results of a preliminary after-action investigation that takes a critical look at the response of the police department, known as the Guardians of the Island. Tonight, our Mola Lenghi sits down with the officers who responded to the flames to talk about the fallout after the fires and their own loss during the tragedy in this special edition of Maui 808.
We gotta move, just move fast, yank the left right here.
We were driving through a street where we couldn't see past the hood of our car, but then on both sides of us there's completely engulfed buildings and buildings falling into the road.
On the evening of August 8th, Maui police officers Calvin Don and Cameron Pupunu had just finished a homicide training on the other side of the island when they began to hear calls for evacuation in Lahaina.
We thought it was just going to be a normal fire, maybe evacuate a few houses, a few streets.
The island of Maui was under a red flag warning, meaning winds from a nearby hurricane could create a risk of extreme fire on an island covered in dry fields, serviced with an aging electrical system.
We were getting calls about high winds and little fires starting here and there.
One fire reported in a residential neighborhood above Lahaina, believed to be caused by a downed power line.
See them right there, that's the power line that started.
The fire that occurred first thing in the morning was contained. We had resources on it for over 5 hours.
Firefighters left the scene shortly after 2 p.m. They say to battle fires elsewhere on the island.
We had multiple catastrophic, dynamic, rapidly evolving fires that were ripping this island apart.
But by 3 p.m., a fire was once again burning in the same area above Lahaina, and as dangerously high winds whipped through West Maui, flames raged down the mountainside.
And then all of a sudden we start getting call after call after call for Lahaina.
We're gonna die.
Where are you folks at?
In the harbor, next to the water. Please come now.
Please go into the water. That is the safest place right now, sir.
The Hawaiian word for guardian or protector is kiai. And in the event of a fire, firefighters are the first call, but police officers are the second, responsible for rescuing and evacuating, especially difficult on an island.
Traditionally, there's one way in and one way out.
Officers Don and Pupunu made it in. Body camera video capturing the scene from their point of view, shocked by what awaited them.
That kind of hit me hard. I'm from Lahaina and my friends live out there and some of my family.
I start my body cam and I actually said something like, at least we'll get our last moments on video.
I get my body cam. At least they have our last moments.
Looking at the conditions, I was like, if I get out of this car, I'm probably not going to get back in the car. And if I do get back in the car, I probably won't be able to drive out.
The accounts of these officers and nearly 50 others who responded to Lahaina have been collected as part of an after-action report released this week by the Maui Police Department, the first responding agency to offer a review of that horribly historic day.
This is the Maui Police Department. We need you guys to evacuate. You guys need to evacuate rapidly.
We're saying this is what occurred, and we're going to share this after action with the entire world, but we're also sharing it with the entire law enforcement community so that all police departments can get these things and that they can see what went right, what went wrong, and how can we improve.
It's also meant as a response to the backlash that first responders, including the Maui Police Department, have faced in the fire's aftermath.
We were shuffled into a death trap behind the Civic Center with only one way in and one way out towards the fire.
Why did the police block people from coming and exiting?
After the fire, there were accusations that official response from the kiai, those meant to protect, actually trapped some people further. One intersection showing police presence where Front Street met the highway, one of the few ways out of Lahaina. Some saying the police sent desperate evacuees right back into the inferno.
We may have gotten out of Front Street if that road wasn't blocked.
19-year-old Noah Tompkinson ended up in the ocean after fleeing his home with his mother and younger brother. The traffic gridlock leaving them with nowhere else to go.
You're running for your lives at this point.
That's what it felt like.
7 hours later, they're finally rescued and brought to shore. The after-action report released by Maui Police this week found that police efforts aided the evacuation and helped save lives, contrary to what some critics charged.
not one person was recovered in a car that had passed away on Front Street.
What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that, one, our officers saved lives, and it also tells me that some of the narrative that people tried to say is just completely not true.
The report saying police activity surrounding intersections was necessary to help evacuees navigate roads covered in downed power lines.
These poles are giant, and so you're extremely limited on your ability to get out on certain ways.
Those power lines becoming a central point of a lawsuit filed by Maui County against Hawaiian Electric, the island's utility company. Hawaiian Electric pushing back, saying its power lines had been de-energized for more than 6 hours before the afternoon fire.
De-energized is not grounded. The de-energized line can still kill you.
The officers who responded that day recounted to us scenes of horror, the likes of which they said they never could have prepared for.
Usually when we train and we plan, we're getting ready for a bad guy, for some type of threat of that nature. Never Mother Nature. It felt like an apocalyptic type movie. The winds kept changing, everything kept changing, so your plan might have been good 5 minutes ago. Hurry up, go! But without changing the winds and the fire and stuff, now it's not an option.
That's how quickly things could change.
Yes, sir.
Whether responding officers received critical radio communications during the fire's peak is another criticism the report addresses.
And, you know, do I expect that somebody missed radio traffic? Yeah. Is that normal? Yeah. Is that excusable? All day long.
The report citing intense winds, which it says impeded officers' ability to always hear radio traffic.
They problem solved.
Does anybody got a boat colors?
They did tremendous heroic things. They saved lives. Make no mistake about it.
But soon after the wildfires ravaged the island, unfounded theories flourishing online, including that the U.S. or a foreign government used an energy beam weapon to start the fire, or that the flames were purposely set as part of a land grab by wealthy elites, taking on so much momentum that police have faced death threats.
They're trying to say that we trap people and we wanted their houses to burn so that people can come and buy that. It's like,
I mean, these are your houses.
Yeah, and it's like, why would I burn my own house, my family's houses, for what?
I mean, from lasers to government burning it down to us burning it down.
Officers Tiano Ricard and Raul Mera are some of the Maui police officers who lost their homes that day. One officer's body camera capturing the moment Mera, off duty at the time, returns to his street to see his home in flames, just after helping his wife and children flee.
They're shooting it. Oh, this is your house?
Yeah. Didn't seem real at first. And the longer it went, it's like, okay, it's gone. We're not coming back tomorrow.
When you hear the criticisms, as somebody who also lost a house?
I mean, people are upset. So they need someone to blame. But after they're done grieving or in the process, they're going to realize, hey, these are our people from the community. They lost their homes too.
Other social media posts even pointing to the background of the chief himself.
Literally, there are stories about the fact that this police chief was in Las Vegas and then Maui, kind of creating a feeling of suspiciousness because the Maui police chief was incident commander during the Las Vegas mass shooting.
They just want to sensationalize something. They just want to throw shade.
Officials now revealing they're investigating foreign involvement in the spreading of these posts.
We had some people, not necessarily directed by the Kremlin, but people who regularly spread Russian propaganda, trying to discourage the people of Lahaina from going to the agencies that could help them. That's inexcusable. And we saw what we believe is Chinese-directed activity trying to persuade the world in multiple languages that the fire was caused by the United States government itself using a meteorological weapon.
We're actually seeing that during these major emergencies, terror groups, foreign intelligence services, domestic violent extremists, criminals will use cyber attacks and information warfare in an effort to create confusion and chaos, to seed distrust of government.
This was an assignment Sergeant Chase Bell never expected. the 10-year veteran of the Maui Police Department, has spent the last 6 months investigating the actions of his fellow officers who responded to the wildfires on Maui that fateful day.
You know, they see this too every day. They come to work, right? They have those thoughts that, oh yeah, we could have done better, because it's easier for us to look with the power of hindsight and criticize, you know, a little thing here, a little thing there, right?
Bell took our ABC News crew into Lahaina to what today is known as the burn zone. Over 3,000 structures, including homes, businesses, reduced to rubble. He traces his steps and shows us how he has pieced together the puzzle of one of the worst days in the history of Hawaii.
Speaking with members of the community, speaking with our officers, as well as reviewing, you know, our body cam footage, reviewing our radio transmissions from that day.
So these were some of the first houses to catch fire here?
Yes.
Sergeant Bell takes us through over 2,000 acres of the destroyed remnants of Lahaina, all the way to the water's edge.
So we're kind of right in the heart of Lahaina. It's the old Lahaina Center.
Remember Maui police officers Calvin Don and Cameron Pupunu, who drove from the other side of the island to respond that day? This is the exact spot they first responded.
I pulled into the parking lot, and then once I got out, it was just embers blowing in my eyes, and I couldn't even breathe.
The officers then noticed something, a flashing light from inside a coffee shop.
Looked like someone was waving it, trying to get our attention.
The light was from a cell phone.
You know, once we opened the door,
Come out.
we saw about 14, 15 people that were just trapped inside there.
The officers packed their Ford Explorer in a nearby fire truck with the people they rescued.
Get in, Uncle.
At that point, you got to be wondering, are we still going to make it out of here?
The road's pretty narrow, and both of those structures on left to right of us were completely engulfed, and the wind's blowing all kinds of debris off the building. The heat inside of the car was just intense.
The destination was the Civic Center, set up for evacuees. They eventually make it.
We just stopped. We took everybody out of our car, and we went right back into right where we came from. And what was really eerie to me was right when we went directly back on the road we had just come out of, and it was completely impassable at that point. So if we were 2 minutes off, we would have died 100%.
The officers told us there are invisible scars from that day that they continue to battle.
Well, we're saving people we don't even know. I couldn't even make it to my own family. I couldn't get them out.
Does it still weigh on you?
Yeah. My cousin, he reached out to me and asked, you know, he's asking where his parents are, and I don't know how to tell him, you know, I'm sorry I didn't get around to not finding them, or I don't know.
4 members of Pupunu's family did not make it out. 4 of the 100 victims who died in Lahaina that day. Today, 6 months after the fires, it is a police department, a community, an island, still very much grieving.
How do you move forward as a department, as a community, not only in terms of rebuilding, but also emotionally?
It is very much like losing a leg. But I can tell you this, that even though you lose a leg, you can learn to stand again, learn to walk again, and learn to run again. And our finest days are not behind us. They're very much in front of us.
So much grief still. Our thanks to Mola for that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.